Welcome to the Amazing Digital Circus, a fun, wacky world filled to the brim with joy, japes, games, horrifying realization of eternity trapped in a nonsensical world. Gloinks! Look at them go, they're having a blast. And so will you, forever and ever and ever. So let's have some fun. God knows it's the only thing we're allowed to have in here. In this world teeming with skibbity and toilets, there's sometimes gold found in the nuggets we flush down. The swirl and whirl of the abyss we call content on YouTube sometimes makes it hard to dig out and catch the glint of these sparkling little gems. We live in an age of attention spans as short as my will to live, and the constant requirement for those little rushes of dopamine from the 901st version of the same TikTok are the only things we live for. So, it's rare to see something like the Amazing Digital Circus gain as much traction as it has. At first, I didn't give it much thought. I swear my dog to be in this thumbnail, this little title mismatch of letters and colors never graced my recommended feed. And even if it did, I'm not sure I would have clicked it. But I still knew about it, vaguely. Whispers on the grapevine about an animated show, uprising pictures of this one character and that other character, and sometimes both of them together. Well, what's with that? So I shrugged my shoulders and told myself, what have I got to lose? With a new goal in mind, I put on my headset and... Oh dear God. I think I accurately described Digital Circus before I even watched it. I told a friend of mine it's probably a cutesy-looking animated show with deeper psychological themes bordering on thriller/horror, to which I received a, yeah, basically. Now, I'm sure the most stalwart and obsessed Digital Circus fans are reaching out into their monitors and phone screens in an attempt to wring my neck for putting their amazing digital show in a neat little box. But there's a reason for that assumption, and I'll touch on it later. I was expecting some of the stuff I saw, but I wasn't expecting to like it. In this video, I'll basically be going over my first impressions, a couple of thoughts concerning the show itself, some speculation on my end, and the overall reason why the internet wanted more of this, and the rumbling caused by it. Strap yourselves in and hang on to your closest bit of sanity, cause we're getting abstract. Things seem innocuous at first glance. It's a theme song, what else is there to say? The voice acting's great, the animation is stretchy and bouncy to the highest degree, things are moving around here that just make me go, yeah, wow. And the curtain calls on this cast of characters. All the while, I'm thinking to myself, how are they gonna pull the rug? What? There's obviously a rug over something here. A skeleton in the closet. A mask over the ugly face. And the first bit of uncanniness comes from this gag where a character is replaced with a cardboard cutout as a disclaimer in Times New Roman is plastered on the screen detailing about how he couldn't show up to the shoot today. Which is a mood, all things considered. Then it immediately leads into the phrase day after day, looping intrusively with the animation. Yeah, safe to say, the game's the game, and the series wanted you to know from the get-go this isn't your average day in Bikini Bottom. Then we get this train wreck of a human being who just poofs into existence mid-musical number, takes half a second to realize this is hell with a clown nose strapped on it, and quite fairly tries to GTFO ASAP, which she fails at, and then ruins everything. With the opening trash, the cast turns to the newcomer wondering who they are. The cast themselves being extremely diverse, with prominent traits and inspired designs that make it easy to differentiate them and assign them their little types that people can identify with. And I don't mean that in any sort of patronizing way. All good shows have them, which is why I'm mentioning it. Jax is the first to speak up. He reminds me of old school rubber hose mascot designs, think Walt Disney and the like, but maybe that's just me subconsciously linking him to Oswald. Put him up as a DLC character for Cuphead, people will love it, and if they don't, at least it'd fit. He's mouthy, facetious, and constantly trying to find the amusement in things. Neutrally chaotic, as some people might decide to say, but he limits his pranks and jokes to mildly inconveniencing at best and rude at worst. Okay, maybe it's a bit more than rude.
Ladies first. No, wait, why would I say that?
Ragatha is probably the nicest one here, and probably would be the first one to break for any sort of long-lasting emotional impact. Don't get any ideas, Gooseworx. Based on a Raggedy Ann doll, she's always trying to make the best of a crap hand dealt and does her damnedest to keep the gang glued to reality. Hell, while in unimaginable, excruciating pain, she tells the new girl to help her if she wants. It's okay if you don't want to. I get it. I'll just sit here and writhe in agony for a bit. Stupid little... Zubul is tired of this shit. A mismatch of various shapes and objects, she sure as hell doesn't want to be here, but understands that getting out isn't exactly a simple ordeal. Without much motivation, she goes through the motions of the digital circus, just trying to get through to the next day.
If anyone needs me, then off.
Kinga is based on a king chess piece. According to Jax, he's been here the longest, and the effects of such a long time stuck in a place like this are most evident on him. He suffers from short-term memory loss, is easily distracted, fixates on various unrelated things, has constant outbursts of surprise, but all in all, he's not that far gone. If that's the worst things get, surely they'll be fine.
I think it's a nest.
Gangle is the last one of the main cast currently here, and she wears the masks of comedy and tragedy most commonly associated with Greek creative arts. The mood she's in directly correlates to the type of mask she wears, demonstrated by when her comedy one breaks, she's left an anxious, shy version of herself with a tragedy mask. And my favorite character, the one who introduced us to this wonderful world, the man with a plan, stylish and suave, and a set of teeth to die for, Kane the Ringmaster. He's an enigmatic and eccentric individual who appears to hold most of the power over the digital world. When there's a problem, people turn to him. He gives the cast tasks and assignments, for some reason, we'll get into it, and easily disposes of things that pose real danger to the cast themselves. Out of everyone here, he's the only one with a tendency to spontaneously speed his voice up, slow it down, break the fourth wall, break himself. I wonder if that has any overarching meaning to the plot. While he seems to have the answers and is a figure of authority and power who constantly eludes the questions pertaining to how to get out, my favorite bit of the pilot is when he just stops being the overtop presenter entertainer and sits back in disbelief when it comes to his assistant Bubble.
Whoa! Clean up on aisle U!
I'm on it, boss!
Why are you like this?
Just the way Alex Rokon delivers this line oozes disappointed confusion. It's great. All the voice acting's great. Jax sounds perpetually snarky with a hint of Keith Ledger. Ragatha sounds like the girl next door desperately trying to keep your mood up while she's babysitting.
They're just something fun to do to, prevent us from going insane.
Zubul is over it, Kingat doesn't even know what it is, and Gangle is a mangle of emotion, and Pomni, well, we haven't even gotten into Pomni. Pomni is the new girl. She describes having put on some headset before magically being transported here. Almost instantly, she realizes she doesn't remember her own name and goes all 6 paths of pain, starting to lose it before rationalizing that it's all a dream. Whatever you say, kid. Kane haphazardly generates the name disregards it, and then generates Pomni. Cute. So, Pomni reminds me of Bochi if she somehow managed to survive her way to adulthood, had no particular talent, and was just as much of a complete car crash of a creature. With a strange proclivity to the insane in the membrane angle, Pomni is perhaps the most unstable person here, which says a lot about this place, or her as a person. Not even 5 minutes into this joint, she's disassociating, reevaluating her entire belief system, and coping with trauma that hasn't happened yet. A voice actor really sells this by making Pomni almost speak in a light fry, think a zombie groan without the bass and chest to it. Like she's always hesitating because of this place. When it comes to animation, I can tell that Glitch has been in this business for some time now. Now, I wouldn't be able to tell you about the company structure of this group, outsourcing, production, all that. It's outside of my realm of knowledge. And quite frankly, interest. But if any old Joe can go into a restaurant and say the food here tastes like horse crap when it tastes like horse crap, then by golly can I have an opinion. The animation's great. It's 3D, so something like Blender was used, I suppose. But you could have had me fooled, honestly. Some of the purposeful jank gags present almost perfectly replicate ye olde and Gmod models with their flippant clipping and colliding with meshes. There's a part where Kingat starts to spontaneously vibrate to showcase his slow descent into insanity, which just looks like the animators pinned his feet to the ground, up the elasticity slider, grabbed a gravity gun and just threw their mouse around doing the hokey pokey. It just goes to show how in tune the production team are with the internet as a whole. A lot of jokes or gags can have you pointing to recognizable memes, like one of Pomni's defining portraits being eerily similar to the sad SpongeBob face. I didn't expect to be referencing SpongeBob twice in the script, which honestly should be the case for most internet animated shows. The only exception, I suppose, are the ones that want a shot at the big leagues. If you somehow lose creative control after giving rights up to Netflix, the last thing you want to do is point to a picture of a 2-foot deer crying into the wind and say, "This was my inspiration for the scene." They don't get it. They never do. There's just a ton of little things that really get me, like how Ragatha's mouth seems to move at a different frame rate to everything else, and the very human mannerisms that don't fall into the trap of over-animation like some other series do. But enough of the technical stuff, let's get back to the plot, eh? Well, once Pomni gets situated with a new name and the Gloinks are left to sploink around, Zubul gets dismembered in broad daylight and the gang splits up. One half to go help Zubul out and the other to check on the only missing cast member, Kaufmo the Clown. As it turns out, Kaufmo, after seeing a exit, like Pomni did, then went crazy because no one would believe him, which eventually turned him into a garbled mess that should belong in an FNF mod. Seriously, what hole did he crawl out of? Ragatha describes this process as abstraction, which is the result of losing your mind in the digital circus. She then proceeds to get ragdolled, hardy-ha, to which Pomni once again decides that she isn't about this life, leaving Ragatha to glitch out as she attempts to find Kane to solve this mess. Abstraction serves as the main danger then it seems. For anyone who's just getting into digital circus, this is the obvious big bad, the freaky scary monster that gets the kids to go jeepers when seeing them with their peepers. For the characters, it's a constant threat, a reminder that at any time they could lose themselves and turn into into a mindless mess of blacks, purples, and greens living only to cause mayhem. It's a decent painting over the wall, a surface-level problem that, while dangerous, only serves to deter you from the bigger picture. The wallpaper itself, if I'm keeping with the painting allegory. Pomni manages to escape from the abstracted Kaufmo. Then, gasp! The exit door! The one from the very beginning, the one Kaufmo apparently saw. She hesitates slightly before coming to the realization that she's known the people here for literally 15 minutes and knows absolutely nothing to them. You go, Queen. Know what you're worth. Unfortunately, what she thought was an escape was in fact nothing of the sort. Instead, she gets Stanley parabled, or PT'd. If you thought either one of those experiences was stressful, just imagine that multiplied, doubled, and then passed over. Yeah, Pomni and Kaufmo might have a little more in common than just archetypal design and having seen this door in a few minutes.
I told you that bitch crazy!
The B-plot goes on with the rest of the cast as Pomni loses her mind, fixating on a headset and a computer, as well as a giant logo with the letters C and A. Surely that can't be relevant to anything at all. Okay, yes, just because I'm actually reading this script out loud, sarcastic is my only mode. I'm British. She then gets lost in the void, the one place Kane says not to go, to which he gets pulled out of a self-promoting ad to go save her and then the rest of the cast. Oh. So that's the hole he crawled out of. He then congratulates them on getting rid of the gloinks and treats them to a digital meal. TM. Pomni gets another close-up, ears ringing and eyes twitching as the credits roll. Welcome to the Digital Circus. And the music didn't stand out to me until the very last part of the pilot, where the main theme's motif gets remixed into a grand orchestral tune, turning the happy-go-lucky circus track into a monument, a statement of welcome, welcoming Pomni and welcoming you to the Digital Circus. You've bought your ticket, whether you wanted to or not, and attendance is compulsory. After hearing it, I decided to check out the rest of the OST, and there's an undeniable Animal Crossing feel to it, like it wants to be cozy. Like it wants to be quirky and colorful. It's a fun little bundle of songs that likes to mix things up every now and again with dissonance, so give it a listen just for the experience. Or not. I don't control your life. If I had to give a TLDL of my overall rating of the pilot, I'd say something like this. Fantastic animation and voice acting, along with great production. The human elements present in Pomni and Ragatha's movements really sell how alive these characters are. Music was fine, good even. In terms of plot and theming, it's extremely generic, one I discern just from looking at the thumbnail, and would have probably been the reason I never watched it in the first place, but I still enjoyed it. It never attempts to be more than what it advertises, and it advertises that quite well without making its identity, ooh, spooky horror. Baby fandom. Where I think the humor peaked were the times where I felt production was in touch with its medium, that being a janky online animated series, as well as the occasional tonal breaks delivered mostly by Kane. Perfectly cut screams did earn a chuckle too. Other than that, most of the entertainment I derived were from Pomni's various breakdowns. At no point was I bored during the pilot, and there were periods of elevated interest. And the deeper lore is surface level at best right now. What can I say, it's a pilot episode. 7 out of 10. So, that's all there is to the pilot. Those are my first impressions. By far, my favorite character is Kane, with just how he embraces how weird everything is, which may or may not be because he caused it. Followed then by Jax. Hey, pitchforks down, alright? Okay, relax. Pomni's great too, by virtue of the fact she's literally just Bochi in a Jevil costume. Now, onto the part that's almost certainly going to cause some people to take their keyboards to the front lines. Theorizing! Ooh! God forbid someone speculate about your favorite series. Mr. I've read 13 different 1,000-word Reddit posts about every little secret and possible link to the future lore of this series. I don't need that. These are just my notes after watching the pilot. I don't need to read anything else. And you know what? I challenge you. Tell me I'm wrong. Leave a comment. I dare you. Okay, let's see here. The first shot gives real Baldi's Basic vibe, so early education computer game with all the countable pixels and the old clippy textures. Then, for viewer benefit, it goes into the smoother animation we experience for the rest of the pilot, perhaps putting us in the shoes of someone like Pomni, who seems to have been transported here from the real world, giving us a greater resolution to match the immersiveness she feels. Kane shows us the entire place, which for all intents and purposes just looks like a theme park map, or like an old early era point-and-click adventure sort of thing, which further lends credence to this being some sort of game, I guess. There's this one point where Jax mocks Pomni for thinking it's all a dream before staring directly into the camera, which Ragatha incorrectly deduces he's looking at her.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Now, it bears mentioning that the only other character that directly addresses or interacts with the camera is Kane, who he himself already has control over most of what the Digital Circus has to offer. He makes the task for the cast to do, he teleports around, he keeps the abstracted in a dark cellar underneath them all, that can't backfire at any point. So this one interaction scares me. It scares me for reasons. Many reasons. Kane also mentions that he has all-seeing eyes everywhere, which first made me ask if he's referring to the people watching the Amazing Digital Circus, but after noticing one pair of eyes in the background, you start to see it a lot more. Kaufmo's abstraction is also made of visible eyes dotted across his body. It becomes a theme, but what does that theme specifically mean for the plot? I've briefly mentioned how Kane has the ability to speed his voice up, and he's done so on multiple occasions.
You! Do you like adventure? Activity? Wonder? Danger? Horror? Pain? Suffering? Pain? Death? Disease? Death? Angel food cake? Ow! You parasite!
While touring Pomni around, he breaks down in an old dial-up tone, one I'm all too familiar with. Well, it certainly fits the time period, I suppose. But why does this happen to only Kane? Why does Kane break down like this when the other characters simply vocalize it or turn into hulking beasts? We know Kane is different from the rest of the cast, but how different is he? How does he have this much power over the digital world, and how did he get in there? He refers to the cast as humans.
My! It appears a new human has entered this realm!
Which frames him as being not human. But is that because he isn't, or because he doesn't see himself as one? There's also this moon that says she loves Kane, to which he quickly pushes Pomni away from. This is one of the things where I feel like I'm overthinking a silly gag, but I may as well mention it while not speculating too much. It's confirmed that all the cast got stuck in the digital world the same way, evidenced by Jax's comment referring to the headset Pomni put on.
Just keep grabbing at it. That works for all of us.
Which then puts into perspective something contradictory. If we're taking on the assumption that everything is old-era tech, how the hell are the VR headsets this sophisticated? Sure, some University of Technology made one during that time, but it sure as hell wouldn't be available to the public. So why does Pomni have one of these? And how did everyone else get one? And what connection does the Amazing Digital Circus have to that headset? Later on, when Ragatha, Pomni, and Jax are walking through the living quarters, we can see rooms of ex-cast members crossed out in red marker. Also lots of blank mannequins for whatever reason. It could just be like a Ruby Volume 1 thing where it was too costly to come up with designs and art and allocate resources, so I won't linger on it too much. One does look suspiciously like Kinga, modeled after a black queen piece in a red robe in contrast to Kinga's purple one. Could be a neat Easter egg or perhaps relates to future plot points. Speaking of the recently deceased, I mean, are the abstracted dead? Kaufmo is still referred to as Kaufmo.
It's just Kaufmo.
Meh. In any case, is it any coincidence that Kaufmo was a clown and just when he abstracted, Pomni shows up as a jester? What if the cast has to maintain its archetype so when someone of a specific archetype is lost, they're replaced with someone who takes on that sort of form? It's obvious that this form is new to Pomni. She probably wasn't a jester in real life, and I'm sure Gangle wasn't a piece of string taped to a mask. But what if they took the place of someone who had those kinds of features? And does Kane know about that? He notes having control over nearly everything apart from their minds, so did Kane already know about Kaufmo's abstraction and modeled the form Pomni took on to replace him? While the plot focuses on the main threat of Kaufmo as he rampages around, Pomni has her little segment on her lonesome, traversing the bloody backrooms. We get a little bit more about her background. Did she work at a company? Is that why she has this mysterious headset? And before Kane eventually comes to resolve the issue, he's found in an area he didn't specify to Pomni. Perhaps outside of the circus grounds or being his own little pocket place. So maybe he's not giving them the entire story. Pshaw, really? No. To summarize, Kane is different from the rest, but to what extent? Jax knows more than he lets on. There are all-seeing eyes around the digital circus. Their involvement with Kane is up in the air. What exactly is the digital circus, and how does it relate to this headset everyone put on? How does the digital circus operate with the cast, and how does it know when to bring new people in? And why are the cast stuck in the digital circus to begin with? That's where the notes end. Just a bunch of garbled nonsense. In brand, really, so make of that what you will. Alright, now on to a more fun part. The fandom. Okay, just got done writing up my thoughts on the pilot episode, and next on the list is to check out the fandom. Oh, what the f***?
Can I kiss you?
Lay it on me. Use some time. Use some time.
I want
Time.
I'm your son.
I'd like to preface this entire part by saying I was there. I was there in 2016 when Undertale blew up. I was there, a stupid kid with boogers in his nose and dreams in his head when the stars rose into the sky above and when they fell back down in a blaze of glory. I was there when we shipped Frisk and Sans. I was there when the first deluge came, and I was there when Dust rose from the ashes as the Messiah. I was there, standing with my shitty Glitch Tail fan art, watching the years pass like minutes and the lives come and go. So I know what it looks like. I know what a self-destructive fandom is. The inner workings, how it ticks, and how it inevitably goes boom. This isn't that. This is something entirely different, and it's terrifying. This place is a mess, and I'm not sure how anyone would even conceive of being able to control it. Sorry, I didn't mean to be rude, but that's not happening. Gooseworx, come on, buddy. Come on, pal. Surely you've been around long enough. Not to make any assumptions or anything, but this is just sad. It's hard enough with smaller projects, but this? You're juggling a naked nuke on a timer, my friend. Whether or not you drop it isn't the problem. It's the fact that it's there in the first place. Gold is an understatement. You've struck uranium, rich with potential and rife with possibility, but oh so toxic. The storm is already here, and you don't control Mother Nature. Nobody does. Where do I even start? Let's do the obvious stuff first, I guess. Which would be, who could have guessed? Rule 34. I've said it before and I'll say it again to the day I die. The internet boils down into three things: pain, torment, and horny.
I just want this as a reminder.
The first reaction to seeing a mentally unstable ball of crippling anxiety and worry will always be to put some tits on it. Who cares if it's a doll? Give it cake. A ribbon? Say no more. Shibari's a thriving community. Jax. Do I need to say any more? He's a goddamn rabbit in overalls. There's literally nothing I can say about this that hasn't been said or observed before. Wow, cute thing. Let's add something to boo. Well, there you have it. Are you happy yet? The saddest part is, the people who want it are, and the people who don't will never be. So let's just agree to disagree and play ball on the opposite side of the fence, eh? Jax and Pomni. Without question, undeniably, these are the two most popular characters to come out of the pilot. Pomni is understandable. She's the protagonist. She's in a cute clown cosplay. The internet loves cute clowns, even if she's a jester. And despite being a mix of Knights, Rayala, Jevil, and Kobeni, she retains an innate adorable beiness that the internet fawns over. Sometimes fawns too much over. Now Jax. Oh boy, does Jax do something right. And I hate it. I hate it because it reminds me of, dare I say it, Sans. Oh-ho, unserious jokester knows more than he lets on. Oh-ho. But this time, he's voiced by Michael Kovac, so the internet wants to get into his pants.
Oh, harder, Daddy.
Not like that stopped them before. God save us all. This is the point where I look at the mighty Gooseworx in the sky and shake my fist angrily, saying, was this your design? Was this all meant to be? I mean, yes, obviously it was their design, but the way Glitch decided to make merch of Pomni and Jax just seems like they were staring proudly at their screens on that day, just nodding to themselves. They're gonna love this guy. They're really gonna love this guy. I mean, he ticks all the boxes for internet simp material. Chaotic neutral, don't give a fuck energy. Mean, but never life-threatening, so he can treat you badly and make it up without too much fuss afterward. Constantly smug and looking down on you. Literally, I mean, the guy's like 8 foot tall, post him up with the Lakers. Simple, easy design. God, his face is just Sans and he's built like a literal stick. Anyone can pick up a pencil and draw this guy. All they'd have to do is look at their pencil. Voiced by Michael Kovac. That's it, that's the bullet point. He's a rabbit. That's it, that's the bullet point. As you can see from this researched list, yes, you're correct. I did devise a quadratic formula equivalent for furry popularity, and I dare say it's been trialed and tested in fire, so there's no arguing. I wouldn't be surprised if Jax was like an actual serial killer before being transported into the digital circus and is just treating all of this like a vacation.
Skibbity, my friend.
Don't get any ideas, Gooseworx. Now, pop quiz, folks. What do you get when you have a tall, confident furry and a small, anxious little bean of a human? Ding, 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 that's right. Shipping. Shipping. I don't want to talk about this any more than I have to, for the sole reason that there's been zero romance in the pilot as a whole. This still falls into the horny section of the internet, by the way. The subsect that's just hopelessly obsessed with the idea of two characters getting together, especially when one can absolutely dominate the other. Or in the odd case, get dominated, if you know what I mean. Not doing that again. Sometimes I get it, right? Sonic being shipped with Amy or Sally or Blaze. Proudly repping all my Sone's brethren, by the way. Even Pokemon shipping makes more sense, disregarding the fact they're like 11 and how weird it is to hypothesize the potential relationships between those children. But guys, the show's just come out. There's 20 minutes of content and they're already banging each other. Is there no limit? A grace period? It's not even the fact that it exists. I'm just more surprised there's already this much of it. And of such high quality. It definitely doesn't help the designs of the characters are so good, so the license to exert liberty is being well used wrong. Wrong choice of words. Undertale's popularity was a tsunami, a tidal wave. The Amazing Digital Circus was no different to an atomic bomb, blowing up and throwing its little bits into every subgenre imaginable. It's a goddamn macroscopic nuclear fission! How many Gotcha Life reactions of the cast exist by this point? Do you want to bet? I don't. It'll probably be higher than whatever number either of us come up with. I don't get Gotcha Life stuff. I don't. I really don't. And I hate saying this because it means something to someone out there, but it's cringe. Role-playing by itself is already kind of cringe. I mean, I did it for a while with original characters and an original story. But RPing as established characters is another level. You don't know what they're thinking. You can't accurately say from their perspective, their mind, what they think about a certain topic. Don't be all edgy or flirty from their point of view, because you don't know what that is. It just comes off as wishy-washy fantasy bait, and I just don't get it. And I feel bad for saying it. And there's just like a ton of bait on TikTok about this show. It's nothing offensive. Well, mostly. It's just like, why? And that could be said about anything. But my point is that the digital circus has its toes in every pond imaginable, about everything imaginable, only a month after its release. And that kind of spread has people thinking about it like a disease. And don't even get me started on the hate-dom. Popular means bad. This is an internet truth. And the most astute of you would have already noticed the oxymoron hidden amongst that phrase. Emphasis on moron, because only a moron would ever think this take is an actual statement on causation, and then proceed to unwittingly jack themselves into this line of thinking when the next big thing emerges. People don't like this show. Sometimes it's for fair reasons, like lackluster comedy or lacking anything actually unsettling. And sometimes it's for the most stupid stuff, like Pomni ditching Ragatha the first chance she gets like it's an unrealistic thing to do. I don't want to be here. I met you all 10 minutes ago. You're all teetering on the edge of insanity, and so am I. Let me out. Or Jax, being an asshole. Who's gonna break it to him? Not it. There's just these absolutely wet opinions online, breaking the show down into its core elements and using that as a basis for why everyone should dislike it. Please, we could do that about anything. Tears of the Kingdom and Superman 64 are both video games, so by the transmutative property, Tears of the Kingdom is automatically buttery doo-doo water. The fact that it's nominated Game of the Year is a disgrace on the industry. Disclaimer, not actually nominated Game of the Year by the time of writing the script. Like, yes, we get it. It's a cute animated show with childlike elements and an underlying psychological horror twist. That doesn't make it like Garten of Banban. That doesn't make it like Pibby's Corruption. I've talked about this very phenomenon in my F&F video, the trope that has people on the internet drooling like one of Pavlov's dogs. Like it didn't date all the way back to early internet creepypasta and the like, taking something innocuous and applying something surprising in order to garner a more visceral response of, oh, that's not supposed to be there. That hooks people in. Just because it follows an overdone trope doesn't make it bad. By that logic, everything to ever exist would be bad. Derivative is content's middle name, so what makes the Amazing Digital Circus any different to these people? Whenever something gets big, there's a desperation to tear it back down like we're crabs in a bucket. This is especially true for indie projects because this isn't just some corporation to them. To them, indie means one of us. And how dare one of us fly higher than the rest? Your show sucks because of blah blah blah. Your fans suck because of classy and bossy. Bait post, they're falling for the bait. Look at them, they're angry because I said something clearly inflammatory aimed to rile them up and they fell for it. Which means they suck. The art sucks, the characters are boring, the voice actors are predators. Wait, what? There needs to be a limit. Will there ever be one? No, obviously not. But when we pass the threshold and start accusing people for the most abhorrent things when all they really did was be a person on the internet back in the day saying slightly edgy things, even by today's standards, you have to understand, oh, people really don't want to like this show. And that's what I mean by an atomic bomb, instantly destructive. Only just now, 8 years after Undertale's release, is the light being shined on the truly problematic members of this community. But a mere month after release, Digital Circus has people preying on its downfall to the point where accusations fly like migrating birds. To my knowledge, this production team and the creator themselves have an almost clean record. Comparing it to other internet shows, it may as well be factory new and squeaking, but people will still try. And if I had to assign a reason to it, it's probably because of its insane explosive popularity. People are hopping on the train, and people are desperate to make waves. It's creating a feedback loop of content where people make something, people cry out that a thing is being made, and more people make something in response to that, like little animations and stuff. Attention is at an all-time high, and attention draws the whores, the kind that'll do anything to have eyes on them, whether it be by pissing in the pool or splashing around aimlessly. And that's why we can't say anything yet. We're still in the fallout right now. It's too early to make a judgment, too early to make a call on good or bad, even if it'll ultimately lie somewhere in between. I commend Gooseworx for acknowledging and actively attempting to quell the angry flames of the fans, unlike other creators. They take constructive criticism on the chin and roll with the punches, and the first step to a good fandom is a good creator. Lead by example, my mother always used to say. If what you want doesn't fit the bill, then be the change. God, that's corny. The fandom is a mess, but that doesn't mean it'll always be. So don't give it a label just yet, because only when the spotlight is off do the real colors shine. That's it. That's the Amazing Digital Circus. Those are my thoughts. In regard to the show itself, I definitely can't call it bad. And I normally do like to speak from an objective viewpoint when it comes to this kind of stuff. And if this show isn't your thing, it's not your thing. And quite likely, it won't ever be your thing. So trying to convince people like that on the internet through fire and flame would only be like slamming your head against a brick wall. In regard to the popularity of it, there's no two ways about it. The show has gotten attention to the 53rd degree and beyond. It's a result of current day internet trends, the colorful characters, and the promise of deep, intriguing lore. This is nothing new. But just because it's nothing new, does that make it right to disregard it? Things that take after other things are sometimes dismissed very early before growing into something unimaginably popular, and I can't help but wonder if Digital Circus is heading down that very same road. But whether or not that's a good thing, I'll leave up to you. And further considering that popularity, is there anything we can learn from it? It's an extreme for a reason, and when the tide lowers, things will eventually even out. But you can't ignore it or its consequences. Speak out when things go too far and constantly remind everyone what the best version of the fandom should be like. Maybe I'm a little naive, but I think people have been doing a decent job of that so far. And look, the weird stuff would have come out eventually. We've just reached the threshold a little quicker than normal here, just keep that in mind. That's it from me. If you like the style of talk about whatever the hell you want when you want to, subscribe, stick around. Maybe I'll talk about something else that interests you. Bye bye, and I'll see you later.